Hello, girls. Look what I have. You see it? Mercy Watson, another Mercy Watson story. And you know where this book came from? It came from Joseph and James. They lent their book to me so that I could read it to you. Isn't that nice? Look at this. It says, Mercy Watson, something wonky this way comes. Something wonky this way comes. Okay, we're going to find out what that means, I'll bet. Something wonky this way comes. See Mercy, she's running in between these cars, knocking popcorn over. Looks like they're at a drive-in movie theater where people are watching a movie. And she's creating a bit of a disturbance. So let's get started. Here we go. Look at this happy scene. There's Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson, and there is Mercy. Chapter 1. Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson have a pig named Mercy. Yes, we knew that already. Mr. Watson, Mrs. Watson, and Mercy live together in a house at 54 Decawoo Drive. One Saturday afternoon, Mr. Watson said to Mrs. Watson, "My darling, my dear, there's a movie at the Bijou called When Pigs Fly." The Bijou is a movie theater. That's what that is. So he says there's a movie playing at the Bijou called When Pigs Fly. When Pigs Fly? Said Mrs. Watson. What an inspiring title. Mercy, did you hear? Mercy did not hear. Mercy did not hear because Mercy was not listening. It says here that the Bijou proudly serves real butter, said Mrs. Watson. Oh my, said Mrs. Watson, real butter. Mercy pricked up her ears. She was listening now. Mercy loved butter. The reason why they serve butter there is that people put butter on their popcorn, and that's what they have at movie theaters. So they have real butter at this movie theater. She particularly loved butter on hot toast. But she would take butter in any way she could get it. Look at that little tail waggling down there, little corkscrew tail. Yes, said Mr. Watson. It says here that the Bijou proudly serves real butter on every bottomless bucket of popcorn. Bottomless? Asked Mrs. Watson. Bottomless, said Mr. Watson, which means all you can eat. So it has no bottom. They'll keep putting more popcorn in there if you can eat it. All you can eat, said Mrs. Watson. What a delightful concept. Mercy thought that all you can eat was a very delightful concept. Let's go to the movies, said Mr. Watson. Let's, said Mrs. Watson. Oink, said Mercy. Off to the movies. Chapter 2. Where are you going, said Baby Lincoln. We're going off to the movies, said Mr. Watson. Oh, said Baby, what movie are you going to see? It's a movie called When Pigs Fly, said Mrs. Watson. There's Baby Watson, and that's her sister, who always has an angry look on her face. But Baby seems like a very nice lady. Is it a romance? Said Baby. Is it a movie about love? Well, said Mrs. Watson, I think it is basically a movie about pigs flying. Don't be ridiculous, said Eugenia Lincoln. Pigs don't fly. It's a figure of speech. What's a figure of speech? Said Mr. Watson. The movie title, said Eugenia, is a figure of speech signifying the impossible. Well, said Mrs. Watson, we are going to be impossibly late if we don't get going. Would you care to join us? Said Mr. Watson. Yes, said Baby Lincoln. Absolutely not, said Eugenia Lincoln. Oh, sister, said Baby, please say yes. No, said Eugenia. But she got into the Watsons' convertible anyway. Okay, so now they got Eugenia Lincoln and Baby Lincoln, Mercy Watson, and Mr. and Mrs. Watson all going to the movie. Where are you going? Shouted Stella. We're off to the movies, said Mr. Watson. What kind of a movie are you going to see? Said Frank. Like this, that's Frank and Stella. It's a romance, said Baby. It will be inspirational, said Mrs. Watson. It's a figure of speech, shouted Eugenia. a figure of speech. They don't literally mean pigs flying. That's what Eugenia's point is. Is it a movie with a happy ending? Said Frank. Oh, it must end happily, said Mrs. Watson. Can we come too? Said Stella. The more the merrier, said Mr. Watson. And there we go. Stella and Frank are going to join them, and that convertible is going to get pretty crowded. So here we go. Okay, this is an outdoor movie. They call it a drive-in theater. There's a little speaker that you take off the stand there, and you put it in your car, and it provides a sound, and then you watch the movie up here on a big screen. You just sit in your car. Police officer Tomilello had the night off. Okay, we remember him, the police officer, Officer Tomilello. So he had the night off, so he's not working as a police officer tonight. Officer Tomilello was at the Bijou Drive-In. He was with his wife, Mrs. Officer Tomilello. They were in the front row. That's his wife right there, Mrs. Officer Tomilello. It's nice to have a night off from the relentless duties of keeping the world safe from crime. Officer Tomilello asked himself. It is nice, he answered himself. It is very nice. Mrs. Officer Tomilello smiled. Mrs. Officer Tomilello patted Officer Tomilello's arm. Animal Control Officer Francine Poulette was also at the Bijou Drive-In. Animal Control Officer Francine Poulette was with Alfred P. Tompkins. Okay, so that is Animal Control Officer. That's somebody who picks up abandoned animals and takes care of them, or takes them to the pound where they can be taken care of. So that's Animal Control Officer Francine Poulette, and that is Alfred P. Tompkins. It must be a date. See, he's all dressed up. They're having a date. And it's romantic. See, he's kind of sitting in the middle of the seat next to her. That's nice. Yes, it says Alfred P. Tompkins and Francine Poulette were on a date. Okay, they're having a date at the movie. See, this is her animal control truck. She's got a little flashing light there, and they put the animals in the back when they pick them up. Okay, do you think there will be actual pigs in this movie? Said Francine Poulette. I'm not certain, said Alfred P. Tompkins. As an animal control officer, said Francine Poulette, I have found pigs to be the wiliest clients of all. Wiliest. They're little rascals. They're very clever. They're wily. Really, said Alfred. Absolutely, said Francine. Although I did catch a pig once. At least I think I caught a pig. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Simply fascinating. He put his arm around Francine Poulette. Oh, it's a date. Aren't they a cute couple? I think she ought to do something about her hair, though. It's not nearly as cute as your hair, Acadia, or your hair, Lucy. She needs a different haircut, I think. Chapter 4. Leroy Ninker was a small man with a big dream. I remember Leroy Ninker. He used to be a cowboy, and he used to be a thief. Maybe he's reformed now. Let's see. Leroy Ninker wanted to become a cowboy, but for now, Leroy was working at the Bijou Drive-In concession stand. Leroy Ninker was selling bottomless buckets of popcorn. Okay, so if you go to the movies and you want to get your popcorn, you go up and you get a bucket like there, and they put the popcorn in the bucket, and you squirt real butter on it if you want that. And Mercy Watson definitely wants that. Okay, so here's Leroy Ninker. Yippee-i-yo, he shouted. There's nothing faux. That's right, it's real butter, folks. Top quality, bottomless, and out of this world. Yippee-i-yo. He's doing a good job trying to sell his product. In between pouring butter and popping popcorn, Leroy Ninker worked on his lasso skills. He twirled the lasso. He made the lasso whistle. He lassoed a bottomless bucket. This is a lasso. A lasso is a rope, and it's got a loop on the end of it. And if you're a really, really, really good cowboy, you can throw the rope and catch things with the loop. Like that, you can lasso a bucket of popcorn. Actual cowboys use this to catch cows with. They catch cows by throwing the loop over the cow's head. Okay, so he's working on his lasso skills. He lassoed a bottomless bucket. He lassoed a stool. Yippee-i-oh, sang Leroy. There's nothing faux about my skill with a lasso. Faux means fake. That's the word there. You can see it, F-A-U-X. There's nothing faux, F-A-U-X, about my skill with a lasso. That's a French word, by the way, girls. Maybe you know it because I know you speak a little French now. Faux, F-A-U-X. It's French. Chapter 5. The Watson convertible pulled up to the Bijou ticket window. Help you, said the ticket seller, Beatrice Liapanielli. Boy, this is a hard name. Beatrice Lipaleoni. Lipaleoni, that's her name. Beatrice Lipaleoni, that's her. We are here to see When Pigs Fly, said Mrs. Watson. Beatrice Lipaleoni took her glasses off. She put her glasses back on. She blinked. She's taking her glasses off and putting them on because this big car drives up. It's got so many people in it, and it's got a pig. She thinks there's something wrong with her glasses. How can this be? So many people and a pig. Pardon me and all, said Beatrice Lipaleoni, but I'm seeing things kind of wonky. See, that means kind of strangely. Is that a pig in the back seat of your vehicle? Her name is Mercy, said Mr. Watson. She is our darling, our dear, said Mrs. Watson. I'm not sure pigs are allowed at the Bijou, said Beatrice Lipaleoni. Actually, said Mr. Watson, she is a porcine wonder. Do you allow porcine wonders? Porcine is a Latin word meaning pig. See, you're learning all kinds of foreign words today. Porcine wonder. You've seen that word before. Porcine wonders, said Beatrice Lipaleoni. Yes, said Mr. Watson. Beatrice Lipaleoni blinked. She goes, what? What? I don't think there are any rules against porcine wonders, she said. Excellent, said Mr. Watson. Good evening to you then. Beatrice Lipaleoni blinked again. She adjusted her glasses. Wonky, said Beatrice Lipaleoni. Wonky in the extreme. It's strange. There she is. Wonder what that was. Pig just went by. Chapter 6. There they are. See, they're sitting in the car, and this is a screen up here, and they happen to be showing a big bucket of popcorn before the movie starts because they're trying to get people interested in the popcorn. So people are seeing the popcorn, and this signifies a smell of hot popcorn with butter coming by, and Mercy definitely smells that. Mercy put her snout up in the air. She sniffed. There was a wonderful smell. There was an incredible smell. The wonderful, incredible smell was everywhere. The wonderful, incredible smell was, you guessed it, butter. Butter. Mr. Watson said, I think it's time for a bottomless bucket. Frank, why don't you and I go and get some treats for the ladies? At the concession stand, the little man behind the counter said, Yippee-i-yo, what do you know? Hey, said Mr. Watson, you're the man who robbed us. Robbed you, said Frank. Yes, said Mr. Watson. You tried to take our toaster. My name is Leroy Ninker, said the little man. You're a thief, said Frank. Reformed, said Leroy Ninker. Reformed means he's changed his ways. He has gone straight. He follows the law. He's no longer a thief. So he said he has reformed, so he's not a thief. I'm a reformed thief, studying to be a cowboy. Well, good for you, Mr. Ninker, said Mr. Watson. We would like several bottomless buckets. Ooh, look at that. See, there are the buckets of popcorn, and you know what they're doing? That's a little pump, and that yellow globby stuff coming out is real butter. Butter on those buckets, said Leroy. We would like a great deal of butter on those buckets, said Mr. Watson. Yippee-i-yo, said Leroy. That's the way to go. Chapter 7. The smell of butter was absolutely everywhere. The smell of butter was driving Mercy wild. Where was that butter smell coming from? Mercy thought that she would go and investigate. Okay, so Mr. Watson and Frank have not yet come back with the popcorn. So Mercy's smelling all that butter, so she's going to jump out of the car and go investigate. She leaped out of the convertible. She moved with purpose. Was there anything more heavenly than being on the hot trail of a true butter smell? Mercy did not think so. She trotted faster. Mercy Watson was a pig on a mission. Pig on a mission. Chapter 8. Hey now, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Speaking of pigs, isn't that a pig right there? That's Alfred P. Tompkins. Remember, he's sitting in a car with Animal Control Officer, what's her name? Animal Control Officer Francine Paulette. Animal Control Officer Francine Paulette. Okay, so he says, isn't that a pig right there? And she, Officer Paulette, says, where? There, said Alfred P. Tompkins. He pointed at the pig that was trotting past the truck. The pig had its snout up in the air. The pig looked very happy. And why shouldn't she look happy? She's on the trail of hot butter. That, said Francine Paulette, is the pig from Deckaway Drive. I have dealt with that pig before. I wonder what a pig is doing at the movies, said Alfred P. Tompkins. That is a good question, said Francine. That's the kind of question that only an animal control officer can answer. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Don't make any sudden movements, said Francine Paulette. She had reached into the back of her truck. Ooh, that's a net that she uses to catch animals. That looks a little bit small to catch Mercy, though. A little bit small. Anyway, she grabbed her net. Boy, look at that look on her face. Boy, she looks determined, doesn't she? Yeah, she's going to catch that animal. If you want to see an animal control officer in action, said Francine Paulette, follow me. Okay, so Alfred P. Tompkins, he looks all spiffy there. He's all dressed up with his bow tie. He's following Animal Control Officer Francine Paulette. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Simply fascinating. I'm right behind you. Chapter 9. Mercy stopped. She sniffed. The smell of butter was very strong. The smell of butter was very near. The smell of butter was coming from the back seat of a station wagon. Mercy stuck her head in the window. She sniffed again. See, somebody in that station wagon is having popcorn with hot butter. The smell of butter was coming from an extremely large bucket in the hands of a very small child. Mercy helped herself. Chomp, chomp, chomp. The small child doesn't look too thrilled about this. The small child screamed, Papa, Papa, a monster is eating my popcorn. Mercy chewed. The popcorn was drenched in butter. It was delicious. Look at that. That little girl, she's missing a tooth down there, and she's only got one tooth up top. A man stuck his face in Mercy's snout. So that must be the father. What do you think you're doing? The man said. What did Mercy think she was doing? She thought she was enjoying a buttery snack. Get out of here, shouted the man. He gave Mercy a very forceful shove. Popcorn went flying everywhere. Mercy thought that perhaps it was time to move on. Okay, so she's getting the message. They don't want her there. The man's angry because Mercy was eating the popcorn and she wasn't invited to eat the popcorn. So that was kind of rude. Chapter 10. On the front row of the Bijou Drive-In Theater, Officer Tamalolo sat up straight in his seat. Officer Tamalolo said, Did you hear that? Mrs. Officer Tamalolo said nothing. Was that a scream of distress? Said Officer Tamalolo. It sounded like a scream of distress, he answered himself. Is someone in trouble? Officer Tamalolo asked. Mrs. Officer Tamalolo said nothing. It is very possible that someone is in trouble, Officer Tamalolo answered himself. Is it time for an officer of the law to step in? Officer Tamalolo asked. Most definitely, he answered. Officer Tamalolo put his badge around his neck. See, he doesn't have his uniform on, but he put a badge around his neck. He got his bullhorn from the back seat. This is a bullhorn. That's something that makes your voice very loud. He kissed Mrs. Officer Tamalolo goodbye. He said, "Am I off to make the world a safer place?" "I am," he answered himself. "I am most definitely off to make the world a safer place." Mrs. Officer Tamalolo waved goodbye. There she is. Bye-bye. See you later. He's got to go out and fight crime. He heard a voice screaming, so he's going to investigate. Chapter 11. Chapter 11. Wow, look at that picture. Where she's walking between the cars. Look at all the popcorn that she's, I don't know, maybe knocked out of the cars. Let's see. Mercy discovered that there was hot buttered popcorn everywhere. Every car had big buckets of popcorn. Every car had open windows. The popcorn was buttery. The popcorn was crunchy. The popcorn was delicious. So she's grabbing the popcorn right out of the cars. I bet she's scaring people, but she sure loves her popcorn. Mercy helped herself. She helped herself again and again. Look at that. Everybody's going, it's a pig. People screamed. People laughed. See, some people thought it was funny. That's good. You should laugh when something strange like that happens. People laughed. People fainted. See, this woman fainted. Mercy kept eating. Ooh, there's Eugenia. She's got her popcorn. In the meantime, Mr. Watson and Frank returned to the convertible with several bottomless buckets of popcorn. Mrs. Watson was crying. Oh, dear. "My darling, my dear," said Mr. Watson. "What's wrong?" "It's a tragedy," said Mrs. Watson. "I wouldn't exactly call it a tragedy," said Eugenia Lincoln. "Mercy is missing," said Stella. "Don't worry," said Mr. Watson. "We'll find her." "I'll wait here if you don't mind," Eugenia Lincoln said. She helped herself to some hot buttered popcorn. Here she is. She's eating her own hot buttered popcorn. Chapter 12. We're getting close to the end here. We're building up to the suspenseful ending. Chapter 12. We have the animal control officer in the hunt. We have Officer Tamalolo in the hunt. They're both looking for Mercy. Mercy's running around eating hot buttered popcorn. What's going to happen? Chapter 12. Leroy Ninker heard people screaming about monsters. Leroy Ninker heard people shouting about pigs. Leroy Ninker saw a woman with a net run past the concession stand. "What are you trying to catch?" said Leroy Ninker. "A pig," said the woman with the net. "A pig?" said Leroy Ninker. "That's right," said the woman. "You're not going to catch livestock with a net," said Leroy Ninker. "What you need is a lasso. Yippee-yi-yo." So he grabs his rope with a loop around it, and Leroy Ninker is going to try to catch Mercy Watson with his lasso, just like he'd try to lasso a cow. Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson and Stella and Frank and Baby shouted. Okay, they're looking for Mercy now. "Mercy! Mercy! Mercy!" Okay, there's Officer Tamalolo. He's talking to himself again. "Should you remain calm?" Officer Tamalolo asked. "Yes, you most definitely should remain calm." Yeah, Officer Tamalolo likes to talk to himself. He asks questions and then answers them. At the ticket counter, Beatrice Lippi-Leone took her glasses off and put them back on. "Wonky," said Beatrice Lippi-Leone. "Wonky in the extreme. Maybe it's some kind of emergency. Maybe I should call for help." Okay, so she sees something strange or wonky going on. Maybe she should call for help. I bet you know who she's going to call? Who do you think she's going to call? I'll give you a minute to answer. That's right. She's going to call the fire department. You've read these books before. Beatrice Lippi-Leone adjusted her glasses. She picked up the phone. Beatrice Lippi-Leone dialed the fire department. Okay, she thinks there's some kind of an emergency. Okay, here we go. Oops, these pages are stuck together. There we go. Chapter 13. We're building to the climax of the story. Mercy was having a wonderful time. She had consumed a large amount of buttered popcorn, and now people were chasing after her. Mercy loved to chase. She ran faster. She kicked up her heels. She's just having a great time. There is the animal control officer, Francine Poulette, chasing with her net. "Gotcha!" shouted Francine Poulette. Francine Poulette had netted Officer Tomalolo. Whoops, she put the net over the officer instead of over the pig. That's too bad. "Yippee-yi-yo," said Leroy Ninker. He lassoed Francine Poulette. Okay, so Leroy, he also missed, and he lassoed Francine Poulette, the animal control officer. "Fascinating," said Alfred P. Tompkins. "Simply fascinating. You're not doing such a good job so far." There was the sound of a siren. There was a flash of lights. A fire truck pulled into the bijou. Okay, do we remember the names of the firefighters? Here we go. We're going to find out. "Things seem to be out of control," said the fireman named Ned. "It's the movies," said the fireman named Lorenzo. "They make people crazy." Okay, that's Ned and Lorenzo. Got a lot of people in this story. "Actually," said a man who was standing next to Ned, "I think the pig is making people crazy." There's Alfred P. Tompkins. He says, "It's the pig making people crazy." "Holy smokes, I know that pig," said Lorenzo. "It's that toast-loving pig from Decoy Drive." "I'll tell you," said the man standing next to Ned, "this is way better than any movie I have ever seen. It's all been fascinating, simply fascinating." "I guess it's time for us to come to the rescue," said Ned the fireman. "We should do what only firemen can do," said Lorenzo. Ned and Lorenzo took off running. Ned and Lorenzo ran very fast. Oh, they caught up with Mercy. Ned and Lorenzo caught up with Mercy. "Hey," said Ned, "how about some toast?" "Yes," said Lorenzo, "how about some toast with a great deal of butter?" See, they know Mercy. They know they can talk her into slowing down if they tell her that there's some hot toast with butter. Okay, so that's what they're going to do. Mercy stopped running. She sat down. She thought very hard. Toast sounded like an excellent idea to her. Toast always sounded like an excellent idea to her. Ned sat down next to Mercy. There's Ned. He put his arm around her. Oh, that's so nice. "Oh," said Mrs. Watson, "you found her. How will we ever be able to thank you for helping us locate our darling, our dear," said Mr. Watson. "Well," said Ned, "I'm a little hungry." "Toast would be good," said Lorenzo. "Toast," said Mrs. Watson. "I would love to make some toast. Who else would like some toast?" Wow, look at that. So everybody goes back to their house and they're all having toast. Look at all that toast, and maybe, I don't know if that's orange juice or what they're drinking with it. So there's Leroy Ninker, there's Officer Tomalolo, there's Ned and Lorenzo, that's Beatrice, that's Animal Control Officer Francine Poulette, that's Larry P. Tompkins, and Baby, and Eugenia, and Frank, and I forgot her name. Well, next time I read this to you, we'll remember her name. Or you can go back and look at it earlier in the video. Anyway, that's the little girl who's with Frank. And they're all having toast with hot butter, and I think that means they're going to live happily ever after. "We never did get to see that movie," said Stella. Stella, that was her name. Stella, that is her name. "I wonder if it ended happily," said Frank. "Well," said Mrs. Watson, "here we are, all of us together, and we're all eating toast," said Mr. Watson. "I can't imagine a happier ending than that," said Mrs. Watson. "It's the happiest possible ending," said Baby Lincoln. "It's almost like a love story." Oh, it is like a love story. They're such a happy family. "It is a love story," said Mr. Watson. "And it's very inspirational," said Mrs. Watson. The end. Okay, that is the story of Mercy Watson and Something Wonky. this way comes. Good. I hope you enjoyed that. Boy, I liked reading that. I remember reading this to Joseph. Maybe I read it to Joseph a while ago. Anyway, I love Mercy Watson. Anyway, I'll do another book for you after a while, girls. I hope you enjoy this one. Bye-bye.